We all know Hollywood's got a diversity problem. From the top-grossing films of the past 10 years, only 4% were directed by women. Even the star-studded, Oscar-winning film Arrival had trouble getting funded because the protagonist was a woman. While it is important that we continue to push for diversity within Hollywood, we shouldn't forget to look outside the establishment, because alongside Hollywood there is a vibrant world of independent and underground film that is largely more diverse and far less risk-averse. To celebrate the long history of women working outside the mainstream, let's look at 5 women filmmakers who broke genre conventions. For Meek's Cutoff, director Kelly Reichardt shifted her focus from tightly knit character studies to analyze a large group of characters over the course of a long and treacherous journey down the Oregon Trail. This film broke Western genre conventions in 2 ways. First, by portraying the journey not as a wild, fun adventure, but as a grueling exodus filled with paranoia, internal conflict, and socio-political nuance. Second, Reichardt portrayed the female and Native American protagonists not as burlesque caricatures, but as genuine characters with actual depth. Sherman, a famed photographer, entered the film world with Office Killer and broke many conventions in the process. Sherman's experimentation with genre allows Office Killer to almost transcend categorization. Is this horror, comedy, melodrama? For example, the main character, Durin, can be seen as a stereotypical geek, seen in many 80s and 90s films, but she is also an anti-hero. Or, then again, is she the femme fatale, driving into the sunset as the story comes to a close? This rejection or mashup of genre norms creates a thoroughly unique film.
Oh, you're a lifesaver.
Not at all.
Salome Lamas' El Dorado 21 portrays the lives of miners and their families in La Rinconada, Peru. Lamas doesn't necessarily want to entertain her audience. She wants to show them the reality of a given situation. This creates a true sense of honesty and causes the viewer to understand the harsh conditions the miners face, as well as the effects the work has on their families. She accomplishes this with a very stripped-down style. No voiceovers, no animated infographics, none of the bells and whistles that a lot of contemporary documentaries rely on. She gives you space to understand and interpret it for yourself. This comedy breaks conventions by adding complexity to a genre that has arguably become more and more simplified over time. Looking at fairly recent popular comedy films like Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising, Central Intelligence, etc., it becomes apparent that comedy genre has essentially become a series of one-joke films in which flatness of the characters is the source of the comedy. Marin Aid changes this in Tony Erdmann by introducing us to characters and then putting them in situations that give us more insight into who they are. The comedy then comes from the process of learning about and analyzing these characters. This film broke sci-fi conventions through the span of issues and characters portrayed. Other sci-fi films of the 80s like The Terminator, Aliens, and The Thing would often focus on a very limited number of characters in a limited number of locations. Borden transcended these limitations by using an entire city as her set and by portraying various groups of characters who are all unique within the world of the story. The span of issues discussed in this film is also unique to Born in Flames. Where many sci-fi films of this era would consist of themes like man versus machine, Borden's film is made up of commentary on racism, sexism, classism, the pros and cons of mass media, and more. The massive range of perspectives and topics was truly groundbreaking and ahead of its time. This summer, learn more about Born in Flames, genre-defying women filmmakers, and feminist film theory at FACETS Academy's Feminist Film Camp.